Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Lethal Sales. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight's topic just fell by the wayside, so we're just going to let Peter take off and do whatever.
Okay. So as far as I'm aware that we were going to talk about what dealers want tonight. Um, and how do dealers really want to succeed? Well, over the last 3 weeks I've been talking a lot on LinkedIn, and basically one of the biggest issues is dealers want to go back to their comfort zones. They want to go back to dealer math. Dealer math is so many people come in, so many people get test drives, so many people get offer sheets, so many people get get to see a closer. Then the closer takes them to the next level. They get bought. Then they move to finance and yada yada yada. And it's dealer math. So how many do we need to get how many results? That's where dealers want because that's what they know. And the biggest challenge is overcoming the fear of the unknown for dealers. And that is a ginormous challenge right now that we're all looking at to get better. And the only way we get better is to step outside our comfort zones and challenge ourselves and and use that outside the box thinking. That's the only way we can grow. We bring a plant home from the garden center. We don't plant it in the ground in the pot it came in. We take it out so it can grow. This is the concern we have to get over with dealers. And one of the things we're seeing with that is first, they're having a hard time recognizing it. Second is they're having a hard time asking for help, meaning training, coaching, and everything else that is involved out there for self-development and growth. So how do we get them to the success that they want to be in by doing what they want to engage in, which is a physical impossibility? Sure, you're going to have the outliers that are going to become successful because they just naturally are successful. It's they just have the talent in the right spots, and it's not anything about anything but that raw talent. But when you look at the average dealer, and I'm going to talk about dealers that we all know, the little tiny CDJR dealerships in the small towns in the smaller states, or right down to dealerships like Nissan and Volkswagen and things like that that have these challenges. They want to grow, but they just can't do it in spite of themselves because they can't see the forest for the trees. So looking at that, we got to make a difference. We have to open up their eyes, their horizons, and show them there is a new pathway. Show them that dealer math is not the only thing to do. If we turn around and said to dealers, and Larry, you'll remember this as well as I do. Here's the phone book. Start dialing. That's how we prospected. If we continued under those parameters and didn't change, first of all, we'd have a challenge because I don't even know if phone books are actually even published anymore.
And there's so
So,
many do not call lists.
yeah, yeah. So it's a challenge. So we have to adapt to what the thing the industry has become. We and I personally, I think COVID was the greatest thing that happened to our industry. It gave us a giant wake up call. It gave us a giant scar and blemish on our history, but it gave us a giant wake up call to say that we can actually do things differently. We can engage with people differently. But in all fairness, where it comes down to is we still do it in the same manner. We still have to have that human contact. You still have to have that person that is going to pick up that phone, no matter how good AI is. You still have to have that person to pick up that phone because eventually we want to talk to someone. For example, LinkedIn. And everyone knows that LinkedIn should be tattooed on both of my arms and every finger that I have, because that's all the time I spend. I found out that you can do a new thing on LinkedIn. So I went and investigated it. Then I found out you had to have premium. Well, I do have LinkedIn premium. And then so I went through it and I went through it and I couldn't find it. And they kept on asking me to upgrade my account to a much higher LinkedIn premium account. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense. There's no, nothing telling me that I have to do this. Well, I contacted LinkedIn. Guess where I went? A chatbot. And so the chatbot immediately got my information, got everything that it wants, just like a dealer wants when we do lead generation. But I didn't get anything solved. So I said, agent, give me an agent. I want to talk to an agent. So I finally talked to an agent on chat. And that agent said, yeah, we'll get back in touch with you. We have to close down the chat so that we can set up the ticket to get them to contact you. Guess what? No contact, no email, no nothing. Now I have to do this all over again. And that's exactly what dealers want. They want that purgatory. They want that information to capture, and they want to control how everything is done. The customers do not. And it's the customers that finance everything. They fund everything. They fund your whole employee payroll. So how do we get around it? And with that, I'm going to land my plane on that note and ask the experts, how do we get around that? How do Jeff, you're an AI master in call centers. How do we get around that? There, you're in there recruiting people for in-person dealership employment. How do we get to the point where you can satisfy the dealers, but most importantly, satisfy the clients, that they are in a position that they will continue to do business, because that's what we're after, long-term customer value.
Jeff, do you want to go first or do you want me to, my friend?
You can, please.
Okay. Oh, great. Mike Moran's joining us. That's great. Hi, Mike. How are you, sir?
Very good. Oh, can you hear me?
Man, we can hear you beautifully. So here's the situation. I think for dealers to be as successful as they'd like to be, I think they need to be both diligent and lucky in who they pick for management. And the reason I say it is where I see all over the country is management. I'm not saying that they're not capable, but they're not all bought in. Now, what happened to me today, I would love to tell you is an aberration, but it's the standard. I had 12 people in the room. Jeff, you would have loved that I was feeling full on Larry today. I trained for 3 hours and 25 minutes. Said, all right, go to lunch. Nobody wanted to leave the room. Everybody was feeling it. Before I broke for lunch, I never give anybody breaks. I says, all right, take a minute, go to the bathroom, get a drink. And I went downstairs. There's one guy at this dealership that's unbelievably cool. And I said, listen, I'm leaving tomorrow at 12 noon. I would like to not leave without most of these people interviewed, so it doesn't fall on you while I'm not here to ride herd on it. Let's get 2 of them. Let's get 6 of them. Let's scatter it out. So, of course, at the very end of the session, I dragged 4 people downstairs. You would think if people are paying me to come in and to train and to get people in a position to be hired, that the managers would find a way to come up and meet them or bring them down or do something. It's the old thing. I try to teach people, and this is certainly not a new concept, that you're running your business within somebody else's business with no debt service. You need people that really feel that and believe that. I'm really lucky because a guy that I work with, Harry Wilner, introduced me to Rhonda. Okay. Rhonda, it's crazy. She looks out for me like you wouldn't believe. She watches my back. She watches my bank account. She makes it really clear that we're in this together and goes way above and beyond. Now, I'm not saying you're going to find a whole bunch of Rhondas out there, but if you think about it, what is, Mike, you had a store. Can you imagine paying me, and I'm worth it, but I'm not cheap. I come in, I train 12 guys, beat them to death, get their brains in the right place. And all I want you to do is get your managers to pull them out one at a time. Okay. I'm there. I'm going to be there 3 hours tomorrow. I was there 6 hours today. So it's not a high task. And until the end, when I finally forced my way in, nobody. And the excuse, Mike, was the old excuse. I'm too busy. I'm in 150 dealers. We're planning this big event next week. Jeff, you'll like this. The band just got hooked up with another couple songs, and we're making a video for that song I wrote, Looking for Elvis. You can't be any busier than me. But when Mike Moran reaches out, when Mike Larkin reaches out, when Sherry, tell the truth. You know I'm crazy, but you like the fact that when you reached out to me, you got an instant response. You didn't get, I'm too busy, call me in 17 months. So I think dealers need to be lucky, because finding a talented guy that isn't all bought in is no good. And obviously finding a guy that's all bought in, but he's no damn good is no good. I think you need to find people that are talented, but who care. Okay. Shara, you barely know me.
Yeah.
And they might have told you humility and I are not even remotely like connected. I am the world's greatest recruiter and the world's greatest trainer. I can hold people's attention longer. I'm not a creep. I don't bully people. Hint, hint. You all know who I'm talking about. And I get results.
Yeah, you're
Unfortunately,
good.
as I am, you can't tell on the screen, I'm short. Okay. I'm crazy. I'm not as young as I once was, but I care as much as any human being you ever met. I go I'm not bragging. I like people. I don't like to
That's good.
disappoint
Yeah.
people. So I care. And that's what pushes me over the edge. That's what helps me get these people in. That's what helps me train. That's why everybody on this damn show, I'm friendly with, and now you and I are friends. You have people you like much more than me because you barely know me. But you trust me more than half your friends. Because if I tell you I'm going to call or reach out, I call and reach out. And you got friends you love, but you're so tired of them telling you they'll call you. And 3 days later, there's no call.
Right.
So I think for dealerships to be as successful as they'd like, they need people that are bought in as well as talented. There's nobody, this is a bright panel, including a former dealer. Nobody on this panel is smart enough to explain to me why there's any chasm between fixed ops and variable. There should be a sales service meeting every month. There should be a half an hour in the office with the owner and your service manager and your GM and say, guys, I love you. If you ever have a beef, come in my office. We'll work it out. I need the two of you to work together. I need both of your input. How freaking hard is that? We're doing a thing next week, Sean Armour and I, on BDC and sales getting together. How dumb is that? Gary, I know you've been around the dealerships forever. If you were ever a salesman, you would have killed to have somebody that would make appointments for you. The BDC makes appointments for you. And every other person that shows up, they go up and go, why the hell did you bring them in? Well, I don't know why. I'm sorry. Did I wake you up from your nap? So I think the key is finding people that care and that will go look. And I would take that over even the talent, because we see talented people that use the same nonsense excuses all the time. I'm too busy. I didn't get around to it. It's all nonsense. Okay. Listen, this whole panel is filled with people that all like each other. And now you're one of our panel. Okay. I have become, and I'm not exaggerating, you correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff Shear and I have become best buddies. Why? Because he asked me to help out his son, and I tried, but he saw that we didn't quite get the result we wanted. His son worked, but he saw that I cared. He didn't think I was particularly brilliant. He knows I can't even work my garage opener, much less AI, but he saw that I cared. Okay. Mike Moran and I hooked up on a show. Man, we've talked frequently. We're buddies. Silman, I met through this show. He came up with Mike Larkin, and immediately we had a triumvirate of great people. We had Rhonda with us. We laughed our butts off. And I think you and I, Shari, are going to be good friends, because in a world where you have talent and ability, nobody's lifting a damn finger. And it didn't cost me anything to say to Peter, who's connected with everybody in the world. Okay. Peter would have found Osama bin Laden. And right before he was assassinated, he would have asked him for a sponsorship. Right, Peter? That would have been the one with the Arabic sign.
How much money you got?
There we go. There we go. I just think dealers need to be conscientious enough to find people with talent, but also find people that care. Because I think if the people don't care, you're stuck. And Mike Moran, I don't even have to ask him if he agrees, because we've had discussions as former owners and as current vendors, and we know how important it is to have people that really act like it's their business within your business. Agree, Mike?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed a little of the beginning there because I was goofing off with my computer wasn't hooked up
The
properly.
beginning of the show was we agreed whoever comes in last has to buy dinner for everybody. And that's
It's on me.
problematic for you because Peter has a tapeworm. You're going to have to send a big check for like
not a
9
problem.
pizzas.
I'm about 3 times the size of
I
Larry.
think it's like fried Wolverine or something like that. Sharon will take a steak sandwich. You know, she's from Delaware. She's easy.
All good.
Yeah.
We're talking about what the dealers have to do and what do they want to be successful. And I think what dealers want is it. Now there's dealers that are all hands on. I bet you are, but there's dealers that really want their dealership to exist without them being a steady presence. They really don't want the phone calls from an irate customer. They want it to run perfectly. And the only way to do that, if you're an absentee owner, is to have people that care about the place.
Well, you're quantifying it that way. You know, if you recall years ago, dealers occupied their showroom. You only had one store as a dealer. And that was your PMA. So you understood where you worked where you lived, and you were involved in the community. And then the multi-point store, mega dealer, corporate dealer, now publicly traded dealer groups, AutoNation, so forth. The dynamics shifted for a lot of those dealerships, and it wasn't about the customer as far as customer value. It was about not getting sued. And a lot of your GMs and a lot of these corporate dealerships was human resource and don't get sued. And it moved away from the customer experience and the outcomes. So I wonder if you look at some of these dealers, and you know them too, Larry, there are some good dealers out there that now can't find good GMs. And the dealer doesn't really want to do the job. They really want to work on growing their wealth.
They want to work on their business, but not in their business.
Yeah, and usually they're in their rental property now, and they're investing, and they've taken a lot of their money and letting their money make more money for them in other venues. Then they want a GM to run the store. The problem is they can't find a GM that knows how to run a dealership, and most GMs have never worked in a service department. Most of them only came up through a sales department. You and
Most of their attitude is, wait, we have a service department? I wonder what that building in the back is.
That's why I pull my car to get an oil change. My wife drops off the car. Yeah, and so and fix ops is such a funny story nowadays because there's so much attention on fix ops. And let's all tell you, fix ops is making a fortune, and there's so much money to be made in the fix ops area, but it's an evolution. Larry, when you and I started years ago, 12-month was a warranty. Then it was 24-month warranty. Then it's 36. Today it's 5-year, 7-year, 100,000 mile, 10-year warranty.
Wait a minute, Mike. Who cares what it is? People are keeping their cars at an average of 12 years. So unless we bought the best extended warranty on earth, we're keeping them longer. We need to keep them maintained, but we still got morons out there. And I use that word. I don't want to get any letters from the Anti-Moron Defamation League that still don't have tire displays or oil changes, or still, greet you. We have a buddy, Shari, that's on the show. He's not on tonight because he's at a SodaCon, who took his Genesis in, and instead of greeting him with them, hey, welcome, they said, you have an appointment? Couldn't believe it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So think of this. This stat came out this week. What do you think the average absorption rate is right now in automotive across the U.S.?
I'd love to hear it, Peter.
65.
Anyone else? For absorption rate, Gary?
I'm going to go with 40.
40? 176%. That's how much fixed ops is making in a dealership now. They're
Wow.
covering 176% of the operational costs of a dealership per month.
Mike, call me right after the show. We'll team up and buy another dealership. Because I was in Trenton.
I'm buying the dealership.
Wait a minute. And if my controller was dyslexic and the typewriter stuck, I couldn't get to 176 if she hit it 3 times.
I work
Yeah.
with I work with a couple hundred dealerships right now, and there's maybe 4 that are at 97 to 105 floating. I've never heard of anything. Now you're
Yeah,
talking about total dealership absorption. You're not talking about
Yeah.
just the fix.
I'm talking
Where'd you
about,
get the
sorry,
stat
my
from, Peter?
apologies. Fixed ops absorption. Fixed ops absorption, not total absorption.
That's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still,
Rosanna Dana from Saturday Night Live. That's very different. Hey, let's get, because we want to hear from everybody. Mr. Shearer, you deferred to me. Now I'm deferring back to you, my buddy.
Well, I think, and some of this is a carryover from last week. And last week, one of the questions, I think it was Rhonda last week, correct me if I'm wrong, but do we hire on personality or experience? I think that was kind of the topic. And
Hold on for 1 second. Because we like to identify anybody that takes their time. My good and great friend and marketer Rhonda had a question. iPhone Boyd is on, and she doesn't know who that is, and she'd like to note that you were with us. Can you identify yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Boyd Harrison from California.
Oh, Boyd, how are you, sir?
yeah, I
Pretty
know,
good,
Boyd.
you. Yes, how
You haven't
guys
been
doing?
on for a while. That's good, man.
keys and weapons on the counter, please.
Yeah. No. Listen, the reason, Shari, the reason he's not showing his picture, anybody in California now is embarrassed that they're trying to be in the witness protection program. Okay, but don't worry, Boyd. Gavin is turning over a whole new leaf. He's now against the homeless problem, the one he developed.
So continue my.
Wait. And then when you and Mike are done, Harrison's got a ton of stuff to tell us in this direction. When these two gentlemen are done, Harris, let's hear your opinion on what you think. You got on a little late. I said dealers need to be lucky enough to find people not only with talent, but who care about the place and will mix the pieces together so that the place works. So jump in after Jeff and Mike are done, please. And it's nice to see you again.
I don't think you can make people care. I think it's in their character.
Mm-hmm. No, that's why I didn't say train. I said we got to be diligent and lucky enough to find people that care, that are talented. Hey, let me just throw a quick story at you, and this is gospel truth. Ron, it's okay to tell the story. I wasn't married. I'm working at the dealership, and Jeff, I had a date with a girl. Hot does not describe it. Okay. And being a young hormonal man, I'm doing everything humanly possible to get the hell out of this dealership. I'm delivering a car, and the cleanup department is taking forever. And I went back and said, the hell are you doing back here? Let's get this done. And the cleanup guy said to me, Mr. Feldman, don't you want this car to look nice for your customer? And chastised, I picked up a rub and I started cleaning up the car. You're 100% right. People either care or they don't. But as a dealer, I think it's incumbent upon you to pay attention to see who doesn't care. See who's careless. I don't care how you treat the boss. How do you treat the lot man? How do you treat the detailer? That's where you really find out people's characters, with how they treat people that you might consider to be in a lesser paid position. I'm not interested. Everybody kisses ass to the people above them. How do you treat the people that you would consider below you, just financially? I don't mean, as a person or anything like that.
So I think too that, in some
I
ways,
just got a note from Larkin. He wants me to repeat the story with the hot girl and go into detail. How lonely are you people in Connecticut, Mike? Go ahead, Jeff.
So I think in some ways, if you even get that person on, and let's say they don't have car experience, which we think is a plus. I think we've all kind of agreed that, or can be a good plus. But, now, let me back up a little. So, how when like the rookie gets hired, gets put out on the floor and outsells the guy that's been there for 10 years? Because the rookie doesn't know anything, right? He's selling himself. That's the only resource that he has. Very common. But now, you hire somebody that cares or you think they do, but wow, you know, they tell Peter, you got to make 50 phone calls today, and you got to do all this mechanical stuff and it sort of pulls you away. And, the big buzz now is speed up the process, right? Get the thing signed and rolling in 2.5 hours, which it's legitimate, but I think because of the pressure to speed things up and maybe adhere more to the process takes away from the personality of the person. That's
So,
my
okay, so Jeff, I'm gonna jump on that one because I had a funny enough. This is a crazy story. I put out a post with the sales board last week, and I asked people to ascertain what was wrong with that, and everyone went, "Oh well, this ratio doesn't work with this, and this number doesn't work with this and that." I said, "No, the issue is for a sales manager to do that board, it'll take them an hour and a half every single day. An hour and a half at the average sales manager's rate is about $14,000 in lost labor costs just to put up a stupid sales board that has no bearing on the operation of the dealership." And so I put that out there, and funny enough, I had a retired dealer contact me and start talking about it. Well, the retired dealer actually bought the dealership after I left that dealership, a dealership years ago. The dealer that I did 3,500 cars a year out of that dealership used Volvos into the United States every single year, and he basically ran that dealership into the ground. Yet he wanted to have a conversation with me over this. And the challenge was he went to dealer math and he said, "Well, I need to know these stats." And I said, "That's the biggest load of crap in the world, because Jeff, you just hit the nail right on the head. I want to buy a new Lexus. What did you buy? Or LX 370 or something like that for your wife?"
three RX 350H.
RX 350. Okay. So you knew exactly what you wanted it. You didn't need to test drive the vehicle. You knew the color that you wanted. You knew everything you wanted. You researched it. You went into the dealership. You're pre-approved. You write a check for it, and everything is there. Yet the dealer that I talked to said, "Oh, you have to do this, this, this. You have to do 10 steps to the sale." Well, what does that do to erode the customer relationship? So those are unmeasurable metrics these days that all these old style dealers are continuously hanging their hat on. Where I can turn around and I can tell you that Jeff went to Car Gurus and that Jeff should be speaking with Stephanie, because Stephanie is the number one conversion expert for Car Guru leads. I can get that granular detail. I don't need Jeff to go out on a test drive. I don't need Jeff to have a walk around or go to the service department or anything like that. Jeff just wants to buy the car. Let's meet the customer where they're at. And that's the divide that we're having right now. And once I got to the granular level, the dealer, who was absolutely on dealer math, turned around and said, "No, that makes sense." And I said, it's basically, how would you like it? How would you like it as a dealer? Now, Mike, you're an ex-dealer. You now have a thank you video company that you want to put in every single dealer, and you want to increase that experience for the consumer so that they talk about it, they give referrals, and they have long-term retention at that dealership. Now, in doing that, you're traveling everywhere. You book a flight from here, from where you are to Chicago, and then from Chicago to New York, and New York to Miami, and back to where you are. If the airport or the company you reached out to said, hey, you know what, Mike? Great. Yeah, we looks like we have that. Why don't you come down to the airport and we'll discuss it? Would you fly on that airplane? No. Or better yet, you go down to the airport and then they say, oh, okay, let me just get all your information here. And hold on, I just got to go to this back room and talk to this guy. I'll be right back. Again, would you do that? Would you engage in that? Would you go to a restaurant that you went online and looked for a steakhouse and said, hey, you know what? I want to find the best steakhouse in Dallas because I want to have a great experience. And you go online, and then all of a sudden, 15 steakhouses start calling you, and they don't stop calling you. And you say, "Hey, I already went for dinner." Oh, it's all right. Well, why don't you come to our place? Don't you understand what's happening? And this is dealers want that connection. They want the conversion, but they're not looking for the relationship.
It's shotgun, it's not rifle.
Yeah, it's not a
Could
sniper. It's not
Could I,
targeting.
could I answer a little bit of what your question was?
Sure.
And not to interrupt you, because I understand when you talk about a journey like that, a customer shopping journey and ownership journeys and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask me that question, stores that I work with and stores that the one I own and so forth, but the stores that I work with and so forth, there's a difference of a journey for, let's say, the type of customer. And so what dealers miss is what is the type of customer. So to generalize a sales process is really a problem at a dealership, because you can't just take everybody and start them like what you just said, run them through 10 steps, show them, you demonstrate. But when you look at a dealership and you operate it in a modern way and you have the knowledge of what a customer type is, a new customer that's new to your dealership or new to your product and your dealership is a very different, unique journey. You're selling the dealership, you're selling the product, you're selling yourself. But a repeat customer that buys from you and services with you is a totally different journey than a new journey. So when you look at the customer type that comes into a business like a dealership, because it's a negotiable products, cars, motorcycles, RVs, those are all negotiable products. So they're not just an easy buy a widget and pay and so forth. You got to go in and negotiate price, negotiate trade, negotiate financing. So there's a lot of different moving parts. But if a repeat customer comes back to a dealership, if the dealer identifies, the manager identifies that's a repeat customer, they've been with us before, that should be a very streamlined process. If a new customer that's never bought your product or never been to your dealership, but likes your product, that's another process. It's not as streamlined because now you're selling the dealership's value and the car. If they've never purchased your vehicle, never owned your product, never visited your dealership in the past, now you've got a long journey. You're selling the dealership, you're selling the product, and you've got to move that through a larger journey. That journey.
You need 3 entry doors at the dealership, right, Mike?
Well, we always, you don't really. It only takes a simple TO or a manager. Anybody who's got some knowledge goes when they greet a customer. Hey, welcome to the dealership. Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity in your business. Did you ever give us an opportunity in the past? Well, yeah, I bought 3 cars from you. My cousin bought 6 cars from you. My uncle used to work here. That's a totally different relationship than, no, we just moved in the area and we have no idea what you're like. And so if a dealership runs on a good program, they identify that type of customer. Who are they? And then their journey is taken from there. And everybody knows it's only 3 journeys. It's real simple, but now what the journey value is. Because you don't want to your value proposition is not selling the car when they're in love with the car. They just aren't sure if they want to buy from you. And the salesman's been pitching the greatness of the car, but never told them about the dealership.
The reason, Mike, that your theory is correct, and the reason it's so atrocious, and the reason that I'll always be busy is, as I do when I do my training recruiting sessions, I sent 12 people out to say they're looking for a car for their sister who just had a baby. I told them, go to any dealership you want. And whether I'm in Florida, Texas, Colorado, California, anywhere, it's always the same thing. They look pissed off that the sister's not here. They say stupid things like, well, why isn't she here? What's her credit like? Tell her to look online. We don't know how to ask questions. We don't know how to build rapport. and we don't know how to listen, which is really tragic because everything we do online and with our phones is designed to not listen. You watch any show, it's people talking over each other, people hollering at each other. So what you're saying is completely logical. You would think it would make sense. And, but we've actually gone backwards, not forward. Hey, only so we get everybody in. When you're done, Mike, let's hear from Boyd and
Yeah.
Gary and we're next thing you know, this thing's going to be over. And I would love to get everybody's input because it's such a cool topic.
Well, like you said, Larry, and Mike said the same thing. Buyers are different now than they used to be when I was a dealer. They're more educated. They want to shop more online. They want you to give them more information online. They don't want to really come in and go through the.
Boyd, I love you dearly, but I always speak my mind. The only reason that I disagree with you, and everything you said is correct, to this damn day, 4 out of 5 people still come in and leave with something of what they came in for. So while they might be more educated and they might have studied, if they meet the right salesperson and the right salesperson is engaging and listens and builds rapport, they still might leave with something other than that they took the time to research. You're seeing that all over, aren't you, Mike?
Again, I think he brings up a different point. They are more educated. I think they're more educated on the product. They're not educated on the process. And
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just I'm still seeing the same old thing that a good salesperson can guide, persuade, indicate and reinforce the feature advantage benefits. But go ahead, Boyd. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But like you said, Larry, they don't know how to talk to people. They want to rush the sale. They don't want to make a friend at first. They don't want to really find out what the customer really wants.
Right.
It's different. But I've been working with Techion, and they are more in line to give the customer more information before they come in, and to set up the appointment the correct way. And it makes sense.
So, Boyd, let's go down that route for a second. 2 years ago, NADA was in Dallas, and one of the very first books I ever got for the car industry back in the 90s, the early 90s, 92, I think it was Customers for Life from Carl Sewell. And so when it was in Dallas, I wanted to go to Sewell Cadillac just to see the experience. And in doing so, I walked into the dealership. I was greeted with a greeting that was like no other greeting. Went through the whole process with them, and I left there feeling like I left the Ritz-Carlton. And now, and that was one of the bases of Carl's philosophy for his dealership. But when I got back home, I went online and I checked out on how to buy a car from Sewell Cadillac. And Sewell Cadillac asked me one thing in my whole journey online and gave me a penny perfect price. What zip code did I live in? So they could tax it properly. That was it. Everything else, they gave me penny perfect pricing on every single thing that I asked them for. And if you look online with a dealership now, they ask you for the internet. You want the internet price. You got to go through the gatekeepers. You got to be you're captured in a lead generation forum, and then you go to the next one and you want a price on the next F-150 that you're looking at the same lot, and you have to do it again and again and again. And that's where we have to improve. We're failing short on the customer experience, yet the dealers want more conversions.
That's true. But like I said, I've been doing some work with Techion, and they'll give a customer from A to Z what they want without even coming in.
Exactly.
They can sign a deal online. They can come in and just pick up the car, and that's what people really want. They'll
Exactly. And
we can give them
here's
we can give them three different payments and a lease payment all online, and it's straightforward.
here, and that is true. Now, in getting quoting from CDK Insights of 2025, most dealers, 78% of dealers believe that they have a digital retailing tool. 68% of them believe it's their website. 31% of them have an actual digital retailing tool, yet we still buy 18% end-to-end online cars. So think about 31% of the dealerships operating with a digital retailing tool, yet 18% of the cars purchased today in the United States are done end to end on digital retailing. We got to change.
I got just, and I've been waiting for my time to jump in, and I wish we had more dealers that would come on and kind of let us know what they do, and I like that Techion is making the road to the sale much easier. And all I'm thinking about with everything that we're saying is that we need to relook at the car dealership as a baseball team. And well-run dealerships run like a well-run baseball team. You have pitchers, you have catchers, you have hitters. And if we would all use the synergy or the baseball, that everybody needs to know their role, everything needs to be mapped out, and we need to stop talking about it and just executing it, because this is what I hear on all these talk shows. Everyone's talking about this, and they should do this and they should do that. You need leadership, which is either the owner or the corporate entity. You need a general manager that manages the various departments, and everybody needs to be trained. And good baseball teams train, practice, but dealerships should really take a good look at what good baseball teams look like and try to compare themselves to a good baseball team. Does the owner always have to be there? Or can the general manager do it? Or does the first base coach make the move? And with all we're talking about, it's getting back to the basics. It's pitching and catching, it's hitting, it's talking, it's communicating. Customers want information. They want to go online. They want to have easy access so they can get information. If they trust what they've gathered, they'll come in and they'll buy the car. It's crazy.
But, Gary, would you agree with this? Baseball, up until 2002, baseball was run based on statistics, pure statistics.
Well,
This is how batting averages, this, and this. In 2002, when Billy Beane came around with Moneyball and actually used the granular level of statistics and deciphered where people should actually put the roles in, and it didn't matter if they were actually better or not. It was how they played based on the flow.
Analytics.
well,
It was
and,
all
and
on
let's
analytics.
and let's go back on this, Peter. Dealers waste thousands of dollars every month on marketing, and marketing people try to tell them that they're wasting thousands of dollars. It's an oxymoron, and they continue to believe the people that have been lying to them that their information. It's just such a weird industry that you have honest people. We sit and have a panel, and we talk about doing things right and honest, and we're trying to out scheme the dealers from doing just dumb things. It's crazy. They spend money, they don't trust the right people. I remember 20 years ago, they told us that reinsurance, they didn't, the reinsurance didn't work, and they didn't, the tax codes didn't make sense. They just rather argue without knowledge. And selling cars is a process. You let them know what inventory you have. You let them know all the tools that you have with financing and down payments, and you treat them right. It's no different than a hotel or a restaurant. They forgot. They forgot what service is. It's the 70s are calling back 50 years, and that's all they need to do and use the technology. So they gather their own leads. But it's crazy. I get frustrated listening, and we're trying to figure out what these people want to do, and they don't want to do the right things, and we're trying to win them over. It's like honest hard work, and they don't believe us. It's crazy.
Isn't there, Gary, and what you just said though kind of relates to Larry. There's two types of managers. There's managers of people and there's managers of managers. The managers of the people manage the activities. Those are the fundamental activities that their job is. And so the manager of those people manages those activities. Then the manager of the managers manages the outcomes and their statistical analysis and so forth. Larry's involved in the fundamentals of what are you going to manage me on? What are the training steps that they all need to know so that the manager can manage the activity. I wonder if there's a breakdown in some stores where there's a lack of knowledge of what is the activity. It's too general.
Hey guys, we're only because we're in the stretch here. Let's get some feedback from Wendy jumped on. Wendy, nice to see you. Let's hear from our buddy Mr. Larkin, and let's hear from our newest member, Shari. Whoever Mike always defers to the lady. So Wendy or Shari, when you're in late, we're talking about what dealers really need to be more successful. And I opined that they need to be lucky enough to find people that are talented, but that also care the way they would care, that really act like it's their business. So any thoughts on that, Wendy? Any thoughts on that, Shari? And then we'll wind up with our buddy, Mr. Larkin.
Yes, I think caring and knowledge base is very important. Like what I'm running into in BDC sales agent, I was a manager for a little while, but now I'm, taking down the manager role and I'm doing more of being just a sales agent, BDC. I find in the Newark, Delaware area around me, they don't have BDC departments. They just rely on the salespeople doing the BDC work. There's a few here locally that do BDC work, but I think it's very important that BDC, makes the appointments for the salespeople and helps them out. Like you were
Wait a
saying,
minute,
Larry.
Shari. You're telling me a BDC is more effective than a salesman that writes your phone number down with the wrong digits on the back of a Chinese menu?
That's cute. No, I just think BDC helps the sales consultant, but obviously you still need the sales consultant.
Oh,
But
one
I
other
just think,
thing. Wendy is a BDC queen.
oh, okay.
Wendy Reeves, one of the nicest people you ever meet. Reach out to her too. She knows everybody in this industry and everybody likes her. And her whole thing is based around how phenomenal she is with BDCs. Shari was referred to me. She's great people, great track record, and she's trying to land a BDC job in the Newark, Delaware area. So maybe after the show, you guys connect and
Absolutely.
please.
Yeah. Share my cell
Okay,
phone with
awesome.
her. And Sherry, I know a bunch of people there. I can hook you up with a couple that can keep their eyes open, and you can just tell me more about what you need and I'll hook you up. No worries.
Okay, awesome. Wendy
So-
Reeves.
Shari, if you
Yeah,
need,
Wendy Reeves. Yeah.
and if you need anything
Reeves.
for Christmas, call Wendy because she's currently sleeping with Santa Claus.
Yeah. Yeah. When he's on the nice list, I am. No, actually, I got it switched. When he's on the naughty list, I am. Anyway, but
You
I'm
just
bummed.
fall into kink, Peter. How did we get off the rails here? I try to keep us on the straight and narrow.
So I wanted
Used
to
to be a
pop in and
Christian
say
show.
hello. And I wanted to say, and I just want to give my opinion really quick because then I gotta bounce because I'm looking forward to there's a study group that Brent Wees and Sean Rains and a bunch of guys started up AI workshop and study group. So I'm excited to see how that is. I'll let you know. But I agree with you, Larry, 100%. And I was just having dinner with Mike Langenberg from AutoGenie and David Rozek. And, it's all about the people, Larry. You know how I feel. It's all about the people. The on-site boots on the ground hires, whoever it is, whether you're bringing AI, you're not bringing AI. What's wrong with our dealerships? We're not taking care of our humans and fix the process, build it sustainable and scalable and get all your little playbooks and everything else. But if you don't walk the walk and if you're not treating your people right and you still got churn, I don't care what kind of shiny toys or tools you want to put on top of BDC or internet sales or whoever's working your leads, you're not going to have the humans to take the handoff from the AI or respond, period. And if they are, they're going to be so unappreciated and unseen that they're not going to put their heart and soul and passion into what they're doing. And again, it's going to set you up for a bad customer experience. And isn't that what we all want? A better customer experience? So stop talking about what's wrong and just change it. I mean, just start where you are, but start now. That's what my message is, Larry.
We love it. Wendy, we're so glad you checked in, and you and Shari are going to get along like a house of fire. Mr. Larkin,
Yeah, awesome.
looks like it's up to you to get this stuff set straight.
Oh, I'll land the plane. All right.
Please don't say land the plane after Shari just mentioned Newark. Okay, it's a very sensitive spot.
Yeah. Oh, well, the
Uh,
name of this room is What Dealers Want. This time last year, before this whole AI craze started snowballing, I was focused on, hey, I've been hanging around these guys and I listen and I don't have a PhD, which stands for piled higher and deeper.
No,
But
not on this show. PhD stands for parent has dealership. Like it's why none of these stores work anymore.
but I spent a decade being a listener as an Irish bartender. I mean, come on. So I listen to these guys, and it's not about what they need, which I was focused on because they need a hell of a lot that they're focused on. And they're not, they've got all of them have ADD. Okay. But the bottom line is, what do all companies want? So I had to kind of step back. Specifically, what do all companies want? And today's day and age, they want traffic. They want traffic. They want to be in front of the audience that's actively looking for their products or services. And then the world is good. But how do you do that? And the AI has answered those questions. And now is the time that they should be taking another look at the where it's going, because what they've been doing is insanity. It's absolute insanity. They're taking their money, their winnings, and renting out their leads and allowing, and they know it. They watch their leads go to their competitors locally, and they keep on paying these companies this huge amount of money every single month, but they're not looking outside their own box of what is right there in front of them. And you know what? They either will or they won't. And there's out of the 17,000 rooftops or more in this country, only about 10%. I give it maybe 5%. After a year, they're going to look at this. But you know what? Right now, it's insanity, and they don't know what or where to look. So that's
Beautiful, Mike.
that's that's what I have to say. I'm Mike, and I'm dropping my mic.
Okay, a couple things. First of all, obviously, we're We're officially a week from tomorrow on in Tampa Bay at the Grand Hyatt. It's going to be fabulous. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m., Peter's
8 p.m.
show is going to feature Zach McVicker, Mandy DeVoe, Sandra, and of course Larry Feldman. I've heard of this guy. He's a little mentally unstable, but he's
Yeah, well, we're an equal opportunist on our show on Thursday night. We have to blend it across. So it's this DEI thing that we do, and we include the mentally challenged at times. So Larry is our staple for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is turnover and retention, the hidden cost in the dealership. And it's going to be an amazing show. There's lots of intrigue on how to solve it, and what the actual costs are. The costs are millions a year to a dealer's NP, not GP. So, having said that, please join us on the Clubhouse, Automotive Innovators and Disruptors. And with that, look forward to tomorrow night. Look forward to seeing many of you in Florida, hopefully. And with that, have a great one.
Thank you all so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us.
Thank
Thank you all.
you.
Guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Call back. We'll show you who's there and what we're doing. See you then.